Ethan Blackwell was the kind of man headlines loved. Billionaire tech genius, heir to a sprawling luxury empire, and notoriously unattached. His tailored suits, private jets, and calculated charisma kept him surrounded by power players and models, but never for long. Love, to Ethan, was a myth best left to books and broken people, until he walked into a small boutique in a quiet corner of downtown Manhattan. The shop was modest, nestled between a bakery and a second-hand bookstore, its window displays charmingly imperfect. Ethan had no reason to enter. His suits were custom-made in Milan. But something about the red silk dress on the mannequin caught his eye. It reminded him of a dream he couldn't quite remember. Inside, the air smelled like lavender and old wood. The racks were filled with vintage and handmade pieces. And then he saw her, Clara Monroe. She stood behind the counter, pinning a note to a corkboard. Her hair was a cascade of unruly curls, her clothes simple but stylish, and her smile, the kind you didn't forget. She looked up, startled, as the bell above the door rang. "Welcome. Can I help you?" He hesitated. It was rare for Ethan to be unsure of anything. Just browsing. Clara nodded and returned to her work, leaving him to wander the shop. He watched her from the corner of his eye. She moved with quiet purpose, her hands gentle as she adjusted hangers and folded scarves. There was no pretense in her, no polish, just warmth. That day, Ethan left with a scarf he didn't need and a name he couldn't forget. Over the next week, he found reasons to return. He bought a jacket for a cousin he didn't have, asked questions about fabrics he already knew. Each visit, Clara greeted him with the same welcoming smile, never recognizing him as the billionaire he was. He didn't correct her. They began to talk. About books, her favorite films, the boutique, which she owned with her sister, about dreams and fears, about art and memories. Ethan hadn't talked like that in years. One rainy afternoon, as they shared tea in the back room, Ethan finally told her his real name. Clara blinked. "The Ethan Blackwell?" He nodded, waiting for her to change. But she didn't. She just laughed softly. "You're a terrible liar." That was the start of something fragile and beautiful. But love with Ethan Blackwell wasn't simple. When tabloids caught wind of their relationship, Clara's world imploded. Cameras outside her shop, strangers online dissecting her clothes, her past, her worth. Customers stopped coming. Her sister blamed Ethan. "You're ruining her life." She spat at him during a late-night confrontation. Clara tried to be strong. "We can handle this." But Ethan saw what it was doing to her. He offered to move her, protect her, give her everything. "I don't want your world," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "I just want you." Still, the pressure mounted. Rumors swirled. His board of directors raised concerns. Investors whispered. Ethan, for the first time, didn't know if love was enough. They fought. A lot. And one day, she didn't open the shop. She was gone. A note waited for him on the counter. "I love you, Ethan, but I need to remember who I am without you. If it's real, we'll find our way back." Months passed. Ethan threw himself into work. The boutique changed hands. Clara vanished from the headlines. But he never stopped looking. Until one quiet morning in Paris, at a street market near Montmartre, he saw her, selling handmade scarves and laughing with a customer. Their eyes met. Time stopped. She walked over, unsure. "Hi," he said. "I never bought another scarf." Clara smiled, tears shining. "And I never stopped loving you." He took her hand. "Let's try again, but this time on your terms." She nodded. "Let's build a new world. Ours." Clara moved into a modest apartment in Paris's 9th arrondissement. Ethan rented a quiet place nearby. No press, no security detail. Just them, rediscovering each other in the most ordinary, beautiful ways. They cooked together. She introduced him to street jazz and evening walks along the Seine. He showed her how to navigate Paris with Vespa and brought her to hidden gardens and rooftop cafes. Every day, Ethan wrote lines of code for his new project, an anonymous online platform to support small, independent shops like Clara's. He called it Monroe. She cried when she saw it. They fought, of course, about expectations, fears, past wounds. But this time, they didn't walk away. They sat in it, talked through it, loved harder. One spring evening, beneath the cherry blossoms in Park Monceau, Ethan knelt before her with a simple ring. No cameras, no grand speech, just trembling hands and a heart wide open. "Clara Monroe, will you marry me?" She didn't speak, just nodded, as tears ran down her cheeks. The wedding was small. Her sister made the dress. His best friend played piano. It was held in a tiny vineyard in the French countryside, where guests dined under lanterns and danced under stars. They spent their honeymoon traveling by train to the Italian countryside, waking up to new cities, getting lost in alleyways and museums, eating gelato by the Arno River. Ethan wrote poetry for the first time in his life. Clara sketched dresses on napkins, dreaming of reopening a boutique, this time in Paris. Back home, life settled into rhythm. Clara launched a new shop called Étoile de Soie, Silk Star. Ethan quietly funded dozens of similar boutiques around Europe through his platform, never asking for recognition. They hosted dinner parties with artists and dreamers, filled their home with music and mismatched furniture, and raised a daughter named Lucy who inherited her mother's creativity and her father's curiosity. They built a home that valued love over luxury, truth over image. As Lucy grew, the challenges of parenthood deepened their bond. There were sleepless nights, school dramas, and questions about identity. Clara and Ethan made mistakes, like all parents do, but they learned together, often laughing through exhaustion. Ethan read bedtime stories in his native English, while Clara hummed lullabies in French. Lucy's world became a blend of both, old jazz records and fairy tales, silk fabrics and digital art. As Clara's boutique expanded, she began mentoring young designers. Her story of struggle, heartbreak, and triumph became a quiet legend among aspiring artists. Ethan, now mostly away from public eyes, became a silent partner in dozens of creative ventures. Their apartment slowly filled with sketches, inventions, love notes, and hand-sewn curtains. On weekends, they escaped to a cottage in Provence. They planted lavender, baked bread, and danced barefoot in the garden. It was far from the world Ethan once knew, and he wouldn't trade it for anything. Years later, they would sit on the rooftop of their building, watching the Eiffel Tower sparkle, and Clara would rest her head on Ethan's shoulder and whisper, "We did it, didn't we?" And Ethan would smile, wrapping an old scarf around her shoulders, the same one from that first day, and say, "We did." In the quiet of their Paris home, surrounded by silk and stars, Ethan and Clara lived a life that no headline could ever truly capture. Not because it was perfect, but because